Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about. I think it's about high time that Roberto Akira Sacasa goes to Hollywood jail. Now, what is Hollywood jail? Well, normally it's referred to as director's jail. Basically, when you have a movie director and they make a box office bomb after bomb, then it's kind of like Hollywood's kind of like, thanks, but no thanks. We're not going to hire you for no big project. And basically, their career stalls and everything, and they mostly have to go to either television or they get the direct to like DVD back in the day, which will now be direct to streaming, or they just disappear and don't make any new projects. And Hollywood don't trust them with no big projects anymore. It happened to Joel Schumacher, and I've said this before. The man literally died in director's jail. He directed stuff afterwards, but it was never like no big blockbuster type movie, like when he was giving the Batman movies. Same thing happened to Patty Jenkins. She hasn't really done anything in a while. She was supposed to do something with Star Wars, but they just like, nah, forget about it. And even the same thing happened to Marlene King. Her movies don't do well. Her TV shows don't do well. She had one good television show and she ruined it halfway through the series run. She's been out of the business for a good while, but she's now coming back with a brand new television show. And it took a long stinking time for her to come back. And she was a showrunner and writer. So I feel like it's about time Roberto goes to that of Hollywood jail. He needs to take some time off and reevaluate his style, his writing, the way he handles characters, because it's something just isn't clicking. This man has had some big IPs thrown his way in the form of television and one movie, and people have literally ripped his shows to shred. Granted, Riverdale did last for a very long time. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina kinda lasted for a long time, but every other show after that either got canceled after one season or two. And Pretty Little Liars Original Sin is the latest victim of that. The man cannot cook in the kitchen. I've been saying that for the longest time. I badly want to like his shows because the shows that he creates are stuff that appeals to me or stuff I've seen in the past and I want to see a different take on it. Riverdale, I watched something Archie related years ago growing up. I don't know if it was a cartoon, I don't know if it was that live action movie, but it was an Archie something. So when I heard this was going to be like a dark teen drama and a murder mystery, I was hooked. And like I said before, the first season was pretty solid. It wasn't perfect by no means, but it was really good. Then you get into the second season and it just kind of fumbled after that. It lasted for the longest time, not because it was great, but because people was constantly watching it on Netflix. And Netflix is all like, hey, this is good for us, so we're going to keep this show around, and you better keep it around too, CW. Because on the CW, it had low ratings. People made fun of the show. Even some of the stars of the show made fun of the shows, and some begged to be written out and killed. Not just written out, but killed written out. There's at least 2 stars that begged to be written out of the show and made fun of it after they left the show. One of the stars had the biggest lady balls of them all to call out the showrunner, aka her boss, halfway during the show because she didn't like how her character was represented, as because her character was a woman of color and part of the LGBT community. She felt like basically she was just there to promote this other character, and basically, in my paraphrasing kind of way, she was basically just a puppy. And that's the Vanessa, the actress, a character, I can't remember the name, to that of Cheryl. She was just there to be like Cheryl's puppy, to support her and just be a girlfriend who kisses on her, but no real storyline. And let's not forget about Josie and the Pussycats. That was the most shocking thing to whatever happened to them, because one by one, they started to disappear from the show. And in order to keep at least two of them in the show, he had to put them in love interest relationships. Until one of them finally left, and then the other one went into that of a spinoff, Katie King or Kathy King, something like that. But the spinoff wasn't even about her. It was about a completely different character. She was just there to tie both shows together. That's very odd, because that rarely happens in Hollywood when a character from one show goes on over to another show and they're not the lead. The only time that's ever happened that I've known of is Harriet from Perfect Strangers. She got her own spinoff in the form of Family Matters. But when she had her spinoff, it did not revolve around her. It revolved around the family and mostly around the husband, until Steve Urkel came in and stole the whole show. And, you know, when Morgan left The Walking Dead to go on over to the spinoff that was already established, Fear the Walking Dead, he later took over as lead, forcing the old lead to leave. And because normally when a person spins off into another show, they take over the show. So he has a hard time when it comes to representation, people of color in the LGBT, which is odd because with the way his name sounds, isn't he a man of color himself? And he's openly gay, but he has the hardest time, it seems, writing LGBT characters. A little bit more on that a little later. And so with Riverdale, it's just kind of like I so badly wanted to like that show, but I just couldn't. It got dumber and dumber and dumber as the seasons went on, from what I heard, because I stopped watching halfway into the second season. Then I decided to watch the episode where Sabrina shows up, and it was still stupid. By that time, they went all into parallel dimensions and literally did, and I'm not even joking, they literally did a DC Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline, where there was a bunch of parallel dimensions, all of them like blowing up and everything, getting destroyed, and the ones that were left are merging into one cohesive universe. So if all his shows are technically like, you know, connected to one another, because he decided, hey, I'm gonna be a genius and connect Pretty Little Liars Original Sin to Riverdale and all the Riverdale spinoffs. And I'm going to connect it to the original Pretty Little Liars and all their spin-offs too. So technically, those shows shouldn't even exist anymore, because now the only universe that exists is that weird thing he did in the final season of like Riverdale. It makes no stinking sense. These are teen dramas, not comic book shows. That don't make no sense. And when it comes to his stars, they don't even really defend this man. Like, some of them try because they realize, hey, it's a business and they gotta say something nice. And if they don't, they might not get rehired for anything, or he might not hire them for anything else. The only person who's ever defended him that I've ever seen is Lily Reinhart. You know, she taught, I can't remember exactly what she said, but something about taking chances, and that's what Riverdale did. Yeah, it's okay to have your own style. It's okay to take chances, but when people are bashing your show, when people are laughing at your show and not with your show, then you know the choices you made, the chances you took, and your style just isn't clicking with people. It's not even clicking with the general audience, and it's not even really clicking anymore with this fan base. Most people who watch his shows will say it starts off pretty good, but then they completely tune out halfway through. And then they start making fun of it. That's what happened with Riverdale and everything. Like, this one person I know who, she was on this really popular YouTube channel. talking about comic books and stuff. Then she went and did her own channel, and I don't think she does that no more. I think she mostly just goes to TikTok and posts like silly stuff with her wife and everything. Even she said she couldn't take the show no more, and she was an avid fan of the show and said she was going to stick with it till the end, but she couldn't even do it. And yes, she, like I said, she has a wife, therefore she is part of the LGBT community. She couldn't even stick with that show because she said it just got too overly silly and too bad. And I get it, Lily Reinhart is loyal. Like before this show, ain't nobody ever heard of her. Ain't nobody even heard of none of these people except for that of Cole Sprouse, which even he has ripped this show and everything and made fun of it. And Roberto doesn't think when he's coming up with all these kooky storylines, how it's going to affect his stars who are getting made fun of. It's going to affect their careers. Pretty much every major character on Riverdale has gone on to do at least like a couple of movies and stuff like that. Some of them, but they don't really do well. That's the thing. Some of them do, some of them don't. But pretty much everybody has went on to like some movie project that just hasn't done very well. And one of them went on to a television show on the CW. So thankfully, it has not truly affected their acting ability and their roles in Hollywood, but it is slowing them down for some people. It's like you don't see them get cast in a whole lot of stuff because people think, oh, you're from Riverdale, you're from that CW show. I don't know if I want to cast you in this, but oh hey, this one person I know is making like, this crappy movie and we all know it's not going to do well. So, why don't you audition for that? And that's normally how it goes. They'll take whatever role they can get because they want to keep on acting. But the problem is Hollywood is going to turn on them. And, with the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, I was hyped. I was stoked. I was ready to watch that show because I was a huge fan of the 90s series. And I heard this was going to be a dark reimagining. So I looked it up online to see what the gist of the show was about. What I read sounded awesome. Then there was like this goth girl on YouTube talking, like she read passages from the comic. I'm like, oh my God, that sounds even better. I'm like, I'm ready. And then I watched the first episode and I'm just kind of like, that's it? Like, it seems kind of bleak. And I'm like, this came from the dude of Riverdale? Because, like I said, I liked the first season of Riverdale. But I'm all like, that's it. So after the season was up, I stopped watching. And I didn't rewatch the show until like after it got canceled. And so I binged it. And I'm all like, this is the biggest inconsistent mess I have ever seen. That show has so much retconning. That show has so many plot holes. It is so inconsistent. I'm not even gonna list all the plot holes and why it's so like insufferable to watch, because I will literally go crazy in the head. And I do not want to go crazy in the head. But back to the whole him being gay and writing LGBT characters. He has literally been called out on that, like I said before in Riverdale. And then the actress who played Theo, who was like the transgender, like, first she was like a girl, then she became a transgender boy, wanted to have like the surgery and stuff like that. Like the actress literally had to tell him, yo man, just like slow your roll. He wanted to rush that whole Theo storyline. And she's all like, hey, look, this stuff is new to some people. This stuff is going to trigger some people. And there's a lot of people who don't like this stuff. We got to handle this more delicately. And so he took his time throughout the course of like the first 2 seasons when he was just going to rush it and everything. And I'm just kind of like, what the world is wrong with you, man? There's going to be tons of people who are not part of the LGBT community who are unaware of transgender people, non-binary people, and stuff like that. And they're not gonna know what the heck any of this stuff is. And those that do know it are either just gonna be like, they're okay with it. they hate it or it's just like whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta take your time and you gotta do it right. Because if you don't do it right, then the ones that are gonna hate it or not understand it might come around and be all like, you know what, it's not as bad as I thought. Because people learn from television shows. That is pathetic that he couldn't even take the time out to, like, give it its grace. It's like, dude, you know what I'm saying? Now, when it comes to Carrie, I've never seen that movie. I just know it had mixed reception. Some people say it added nothing new. It was basically just a complete retelling and everything. So that was just a copy and paste of a movie. And Chloe Grace Moretz deserves so much better because she's very, very picky about what roles she takes. She's too picky to now the point to where she's not getting that many roles, and now she's just taking stuff that aren't that good because she's a very good actress. Like, she is good. Like, no matter what she's in, she'll give it 110%. There was a movie called Eyes. At least I think that's what it was called, with Jessica Alba. The movie did not do so well. Jessica Alba's acting there was like so-so. And Chloe stole the whole show, and she had a small role. That's literally how good she is. And the fact that now she's doing movies that are just kind of She's doing streaming that's just kind of She's doing voiceover that's just kind of like, dude, you're so much better than that. You know what I'm saying? And that movie did put, like, a halt to like her career and everything a little bit. That, and along with like Kick-Ass 2 and stuff. And, because that's what happened in Hollywood. When you start to do one bad movie after another, Hollywood's going to look at you and be all like, maybe the problem is you and not the writers, or maybe not the directors, but maybe it's you. And I hate when Hollywood does that. And then there is the is it a reboot? Originally it was. And then it became a spin-off of Pretty Little Liars. So Pretty Little Liars, Original Sin, and that of Summer School. It's some of the most god-awful writing I have ever seen. I've said this before. Y'all deserve better. There are better slasher shows out there. Better slasher movies out there. And if you like this show, fine. That's fine. Everybody's allowed to like something that's crap. There are some TV shows I like that are crap. There are some movies I like that are crap. But you know what I do? When it is crap and I still like it, I still say, hey, it's crap. But that's okay because it's pretty good. If a show has its like problems in it, I'll be like, hey, I like this show, but it got some problems. In fact, I'm about to do that again. In the next coming days, I'm going to talk about a show called Young and Hungry. A fun, cute little sitcom of a show that came out on ABC Family, lasted for 5 seasons. I like that show, but that show got problems. And I'm going to list those problems when I talk about the show. See, I can be honest, but a lot of the fans of this show cannot be. That small niche group I told you about on Twitter is going nuclear on Twitter right now, talking about this was the highest rated show. This was such a great show. This was one of the most diverse like slasher shows ever. I can't believe it got canceled. How dare they cancel our show? This is a conspiracy and everything. And then I saw some people talking about, oh, they just canceled this because it's a bunch of diverse women and everything. There are other shows on HBO Max. Granted, yes, the devil man who runs HBO Max does like to cancel a lot of stuff that's diverse. And he also does not. But if your show ain't good, it just ain't good. And they keep talking about how this is the highest rated show and all this other crap. Even one of the actresses herself, Chandler, who's now on Dancing with the Stars, Let me interject for just one brief moment. So, as I'm editing this, I was looking for tweets of people complaining about, why this show got canceled and, who's the real villain for getting this show canceled instead of accepting that it had to do with bad writing. And so I'm about to start talking about Chandler, the one who played Tabby, and how she, said some really interesting stuff about defending this show. But about 7 hours ago, she changed her Twitter bio. She took out that she was a part of, Pretty Little Liars Summer School and how it came out on May 7th. But why exactly? Is it because it's no longer coming out on May 7th? Because, the show is over with now? Is she embarrassed about being on the show and don't want nobody to know she's associated with it? Or is she simply just changing her bio because she's on Dancing with the Stars now? I don't know. It could be any reason. I just think that's hilarious. See, now more of the cast are speaking out on this show. Where were they when this show was airing every week? Also, where were all the fans every week? When I say this fan group of this show is niche, I'm not joking. After I stopped watching the show and the months I've been waiting to see if it got canceled or renewed, I'm all like, what the heck actually happened in those last 4 episodes? Because I refused to watch it. So I went on YouTube and I started seeing who's reviewing this and everything. I kid you not, I could only find about 6 different YouTubers who was reviewing this every week. And many of them were being fair. They listed the problems in the show, but still said, hey, they like it. Then when the show before it got canceled, after it wrapped up, 2 more people chimed in just to trash the show and talking about what a mess it was. And I'm just kind of like, where are the fans of this show at? Because the original Pretty Little Liars has dozens and dozens of YouTubers always talking about the original series, but you rarely see anybody speak about this show. And that tells you right then and there, this show lost its audience after the first season. So Chandler, said that just like with the rest of the cast, they're in shock that the show got canceled. Because they said, contrary to what some people believe, it had nothing to do with the ratings. I halfway believe that story. I believe, first season it had high ratings. I told you exactly why that was. It's because the original fan base and fans of Roberto wanted to see his take on Pretty Little Liars. And that's why it got renewed very early, because it had a high rating count. Now, streaming services do not list their ratings. So when I see fans talking about it's a high rated show, how the heck do they know? And so they're just going off of what Chandler's saying and stuff. And also, if the ratings were good, then this show would have gotten renewed. There are other shows on HBO Max that have good ratings and good writing, and they get renewed. This show just was incapable of writing anything good because the showrunner sucks. The writers are not very good. And so, I don't get the denial of why people think that this show was canceled because it was diverse, because there are tons of women, and because, the showrunner's gay and everything. Because in case you haven't noticed, you don't see none, and I mean none, of those anti-woke YouTubers complaining about this show. And why are they not complaining about this show? Because to them, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it to their fan base because they know their fan base are never gonna watch this show. They most likely do not watch this show. And because it's not a big deal to gain that YouTube revenue for trashing this show. They did it with the Acolyte, with the female lesbian showrunner, because they're fans of Star Wars. And they ripped that show apart. So you can't blame it on the toxicity of the men YouTubers that constantly piss on stuff because they left this show alone. And I've seen some people blame the original fans of the original series, talking about, oh, all y'all do is complain about this show. We can't even enjoy this show because you complain so much. Who's stopping you from watching it? Ain't nobody tied you down and say, hey, I like the original. You're not allowed to like the new show, so you can't watch it. Ain't nobody doing that. You can still watch it. You can still have a good time. That's not going to stop it from the bad writing. So I don't understand all these excuses, because she goes on to say something very vague, talking about, it wasn't the ratings and it wasn't the reception. Has she paid attention to the reception? I don't think she has. See, this is the thing. I said I only half believe her. Nobody who works on this show is going to tell the 100% truth of how they feel about this show. Because one, it will be career detriment if they do. They know that they have to say nice stuff about the showrunner and nice stuff about the network and nice stuff about the writers, because those people are probably going to give them jobs down the line. The network be all like, oh, you was on this one show we had and you're very loyal and everything. Why don't you audition for this show? And same thing the showrunner's going to do. It's called business of Hollywood. Also, I don't even think the stars of Original Sins even watched the show themselves. They probably saw clips here and there, but I doubt they sat down and watched their own show. Why do I say that? Because most celebrities don't watch their movies and they don't watch their television shows because they're too busy filming to actually and doing other stuff and other projects to sit down and watch whatever it is they did. And plus, some people don't like to see themselves on screen. The people who did Power Rangers before streaming was a thing, they're just now watching their show 30 years later, because it was hard for them to watch it back then because they had to film the new seasons of the show and they couldn't catch the reruns, and there was no streaming or no DVDs back then. Now there is streaming and stuff like that, but people don't have the time to want to watch their stuff, and some don't want to see themselves on screen. So I truly do not even believe that none of these girls sat their behinds down and watched the show. Because when they film things, they're not quite sure how something is gonna look, and they've read the dialogue. They know that the dialogue is stupid. Alright? And if they would have actually sat down and watched this show, I think they would have been like, yeah, this show is kind of odd. Because the Original Sins cast are fans of the original series. They have stated that in interviews. So I bet they was thrilled to know they were going to be part of a Pretty Little Liars show, only to get stuck with this mess of a show that just copies other slasher movies and stuff. Original Sins is basically a ripoff of Friday the 13th. You have the relative who died, you have the avenging other relative, and you have the big hulking Jason Voorhees and Mike Myers looking dude. It is basically Friday the 13th, but just rewritten. Then you get to summer school, and it's basically Scream. Multiple Scream movies at that. The second, the fourth, the fifth, and maybe a little bit of the sixth. But it's basically just a ripoff of all those Scream movies and stuff, because that's what Roberto does. So back to what Chandler said, she doesn't think it's the ratings and she doesn't think it's the reception, but the only reception she's looking at is that when she goes on Twitter and she types in Pretty Little Liars Summer School, she's finding that niche fan group who's talking about this show, because nobody else talks about it because everybody else has given up on this show. So if you're only reading the comments of the stan base, of course you're gonna think it's an awesome show, because everybody else have left this show alone. And I've noticed something on social media. Whenever you have a show that's not well received, sometimes on Facebook and Twitter, you don't read no bad comments about those shows. Sometimes I wonder, do the networks filter out that stuff so there's no bad reception, you know? I remember one time there was a show, I think it was Riverdale, when it first came out, and it was like the second season, and I was hating the second season, and so I was complaining about it online, like Facebook or something. The next thing I know, my comments are not going through, because the main site for Riverdale on Facebook would not let me comment no more, because I kept saying things did not make sense in the show, and it's getting a little silly and ridiculous. And they literally caused it so I could not comment. This is what a lot of networks are now doing and stuff. So yes, the reception she read is from the stan fan base, and is not from other people who are not liking this show. And you know, nobody wants to admit that this show had terrible, horrible writing to it. And I mean, it was terrible. Because like I said before, I was curious to know what happened in those last 4 episodes. My God, they were atrocious and everything. Oh, wait, let me get back to Chandler. So then she said, you know, she was shocked. And this is the normal, I'm going to paraphrase, I'm not at the computer now. This is like what's going on in like Hollywood lately. I don't know exactly what she means. And she's talking about how streaming sites are not giving shows enough time to build its audience and work out the mistakes. That I agree with. There are a lot of shows out there that are not very good, and then they get canceled very fast because the networks are all like, you don't like it? Screw it. Let's move on to something else. If Star Trek Next Generation and Star Trek Deep Space Nine to come out now, oh, they would have been canceled in their first season because their first seasons were trash. Shows then get better to many seasons later. A little bit with Voyager as well. But here's the thing. Pretty Little Liars Original Sin had 2 seasons to correct its mistakes. And then Roberto did not learn from them. He didn't even learn from the original series. In the first season of Original Sin, he had underage adult relationships, grooming, which is something the original one had, and people complain about. He was gonna give Imogen's baby to Ezra and Arya. Now, Lucy Hale has stated, oh yeah, she would love to appear on this show. Of course she would. Her career isn't going nowhere right now. She had 2 shows on the CW that got canceled after 1 season. That one where she thought she had cancer and didn't. And then, of course, Kathy King, which was a Roberto show. So she's hoping, hey, if I keep saying nice things about him and be like, yeah, I would love to be on the show, he'll put me on the show. Because her movie career is not going very well, because a lot of the movies she is in are not doing very well. And she's a really good actress from that of the original series. But the moment people found out that the baby was going to be adopted by a pedophile and everything, they're like, no. What have we been complaining about for like, how long it's been? Like 10 years or something like that? People hate the whole Ezra and Arya relationship. It is disgusting and gross. It is nasty. And he was going to have them adopt a baby. So then, next thing you know, season 2 comes around, and all of a sudden, Imogen's all like, oh no, I got a bad feeling about that Ezra guy. Yeah, they heard the backlash and everything. Then, to retcon all the bad, terrible, horrible people from season 1, they just had Archie just straight up kill him. Oh, and by the way, in the first season, you know, that's supposed to stand for the initials of Allison, but they had to come up with an A for this one, stands for Archie. Archie. Archie comics? Riverdale? Come on, man. How unoriginal can you be? And so, like, the killer was an idiot. He's basically a man child who does whatever his father wants. The plot of why, the motive of why they go after the girls is stupid. The Pretty Little Liars and Original Sin have done nothing wrong whatsoever. It was their mothers who did something wrong. The whole Angela Waters thing. She got attacked by a man or boy, got pregnant, tried to tell her friends, and they were just rude and nasty to her, and she died. So Archie and his dad took it out, but not on the mothers who are now grown up. They took it out on the daughters for some reason. That don't make no sense whatsoever. And then they finally decided to take it out on the moms in the last episode of everything to do absolutely nothing to them. This show was just bleak and terrible and everything. But compared to the second season, the first season is like a masterpiece. Because the second season was stupid. And I have seen people, when the show when the network was debating on whether or not it was going to renew the show, because the girl, Chandler said they've known for a while that the show was canceled. They couldn't say nothing. I knew it. Because Bailey runs off the mouth too much on Twitter about this show. And every time somebody brings it up, she won't say nothing. Because she's under contract. Because she knows she's not allowed to say nothing. Because most likely it got canceled. And so with the second season, Roberto literally said that he had no idea the identity of Bloody Rose. Not until the end of the 6th episode, and then him and the writers decided to come up with the reason as to why the person who is Bloody Rose did what they did. There are 8 episodes in the season. He came up with the identity of the killer in the 6th episode. When you watch those first 6 episodes, the motivation as to why the killer is killing all these like young teens who are about to have sex makes absolutely no sense when the killer reveal are 2 people and one of them just wanted to make a horror movie. And one of them wanted revenge for her son who assaulted a girl and got her pregnant and assaulted another girl. The motives made no sense because him and his crap pot of writing teams, writers and stuff, had no freaking clue. You are supposed to know who is the killer of your movie or television show before you start even writing out a script. You're supposed to have it in your brain to begin with. And he didn't even have that. That shows you how pathetic this man is of a show writer and everything. He does things on a whim. He does things on a fly. And then he retcons whatever's not working and hopes people will forget it. That is not what a showrunner is supposed to do. It's like he's never went to school for writing or something. And I've told you before, he can't write strong women. He can't write people of color. He cannot write the LGBT. But yet, him and his team think what they're doing is great. Like, okay, they think girl power and women being strong for another and supporting women is when something scary is about to happen. And they're like, okay, girls, let's hold hands. And then the new liars of the show are all holding hands. And it's like, what, 5 girls and stuff? They're just holding hands like, okay, we gotta be strong for one another. We gotta support one another. Let's hold hands. Who are they? The Charm Sisters? They do not have the power of 3. There's a reason why the Charm Sisters hold hands. Piper in the on the beginning of the series was scared of everything, so they had to hold her hand. They have sisterly bond, so when they get scared, they hold each other's hand, and they had to use the power of 3 and hold hands. They hold hands because they're like, all right, this is a scary situation. Let's hold hands and do this together, girls. And it's just kind of like, that's supposed to be feminism. That's supposed to be women having each other's back. When do you see that ever happen? When girls are about to go someplace scary. All right, girls, let's hold hands. Then there is the group hug. I got so sick and tired of seeing this season. Every time Imogen will have like a nervous breakdown. Okay, girls, let's hug her and everything. And it's a group hug moment. When do you see people do that? When do you ever see somebody realistically doing that? Every time somebody has a nervous breakdown. All right, group hug and everything. And let's all hold her because she's the main star of the show and everything. That is not women having each other's back. Strong women is not having Farron lift a steel beam on her shoulders when she's like 90 pounds and holding it for over 4 something hours and everything. Oh, she's so strong and empowered. And I read comments, oh, Bloody Rose took that kick to the face. She ate that kick. That's what took down the villain. One little weak little kick and everything. And it's just like they have Farron be strong at everything. She can beat men up. She can outswim them. She can outdance them. She is smarter than them and she will put them down. That is not a strong woman. And I've said that before. Then there's the whole person of color thing. This is the most diverse slasher show I've ever seen. This is one of the most diverse shows I've ever seen. And it's way more diverse than the original series. But that don't mean they're necessarily the main stars of the show. This show is the Imogen show, the white girl of the show. Season 2 is supposed to be about Tabby, but still it revolves around Imogen a whole lot more. Imogen even got the final punch in on the killer when you think he's dead, after Tabby stabbed him with a pitchfork. Who got that final punch is basically your final person. Now, with the whole pitchfork thing, they couldn't even hold it right. If you're going to stab somebody with a pitchfork, you don't hold it upright. You're going to turn it, flip it around, and stab them with it. They couldn't even do that. And Wes had at least a good 10 seconds to get out of the way before he got stabbed and just stood there. And I'm just kind of like, oh, back to the whole person of color thing when he can't write. So I'm still irked about this from season 1. With Farron in her hair. Throughout season 1, nobody has ever pointed out that, you know something, Farron, you're a little too white for a black girl. Nobody's ever said that. Why do you do ballerina dancing? Don't you know that's for white girls and everything? Nobody's never said that. You have a white boyfriend and you're black. Nobody's ever said that. Nobody has a problem with her being black. Nobody has a problem with her doing stuff that majority of white people will do. Nobody. Nobody's ever teased her. Nobody's ever picked on her. Nobody's ever said, hey, since you're black, why do you wear your hair straight and not curly like other black girl? Nobody's never said that. So one day, she decides, you know what? I'm gonna show my curls. And so she put some stuff on her hair, and now her hair is curly, and it's been curly since that one episode of season 1 and all of season 2 to match the hairstyle of Tabby. But why exactly? It's okay if she wants to make her hair curly. That's not the problem I have. The problem I have is that they try to make it into a big thing with her talking about, I'm gonna show my curls. And I'm just kind of like, okay, was there a reason for that? Like, is there a reason for this, like, empowerment of blackness and everything? No, just to do it, because that's black power and the eyes of Roberto and everything. And I'm just kind of like, that don't make no sense. None whatsoever. So then what happened to Tabby when she decided to straighten her hair for 2 episodes? Is she now less black or something? And I'm just kind of like, nothing makes sense in this show. That's not black awareness. But they think with that like one or two black like writers on the show that, hey, that's showing some kind of black awareness. She's black now because she just put her hair in curls. Nobody made fun of her, but she has to show her curls. And like most modern television shows, every guy in this show is a monster. They're either some abuser of some type, physical or sexual and everything. And of course, the only good guy is like some of the boyfriends and stuff in season 2, which the girls are horrible in season 2. I don't understand why they're friends exactly. They don't act like they're friends except for Tabby and Imogen. That's only because they've been friends since they were little. But besides them, the rest of the girls in the friend group, they don't got no chemistry with the rest of the girls. I don't know why they're friends. They don't act really like friends and stuff. And in season two, they all get love interest. And they're horrible. I read what happened. Oh, I heard actually what happened to that of Noah in the whole Jen situation and her boyfriend. That was character assassination. So many people, even people who are fans of this show, have complained about what they did to that of Noah. The actress herself got bullied online for people talking about, I can't believe she did this. She had to defend the character, defend her horrible actions. She shouldn't have to do that as an actress. Now I see why this actress never really promoted this show. She posted like one or two things in the beginning and then left it alone. And when the show got canceled, wrote a typical, oh, I'm so sad to see this show go. All the stars wrote that just recently now. And it's just kind of like, she didn't care. She knew this show sucked. She knew this show was going to get canceled. And the things they just had her do was terrible and horrible. She cheats on her boyfriend. Her girlfriend is like who steals and everything, stole money and everything, and then she stole it from the job. So what did she do? I think she fussed the boss out. About like, I think you miscounted and everything. Blah 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 blah. He's all like, oh, I think I did, and she had put some like money in there, her own money, to compensate for it and stuff. Then she tells her stupid girlfriend to steal her dad's watch because he'll never know, and he noticed it, and he put his daughter in jail. And so she had to get money, like $2,000 from her boyfriend. Then to get the money back, they stole from in his house. So they took that dude from like $4,000. Then Jen lied and said that the boyfriend got so pissed he punched a hole in the wall, which causes Noah to pick up a baseball bat and tear up his car and threaten to call the police on him, saying that he abused him and everything. She had to defend that. Like, my God. Like, what the world? All because they had nothing to do for her in the show. Then there is Mouse. I have literally said Mouse is the dumbest character in the entirety of this show. Archie is smarter than Mouse. Since season one, Mouse has been an idiot. Not the actress, just the character. The character hopped online the first season and started talking to older men. And when she found out this one man, teen daughter, disappeared, she'd be like, okay, this is what me and you would do. I will pretend to be your daughter so you can have a daughter in your life. Well, the man got a little too attached in a very creepy way that scared the piss out of her. What did she expect and everything? Then in season two, it's the whole spooky spaghetti thing, which they keep. How am I supposed to take that website serious? Jenga Jenga from Riverdale and now Spooky Spaghetti in Pretty Little Liars. I know it's a take on that one website. I forget what it's called, something pasta and creepy pasta or something like that. But Spooky Spaghetti, come on, man. Come on now. That's just the dumbest thing ever. And Mouse is addicted to this site. It's causing problems between her and her boyfriend. And like, she's dumb enough to meet a killer alone. And not only that, but when things start to get a little too hairy because she's too much on that site and the slasher this season created the stupid little website, she thought, and I laughed when I heard about this. When I heard about this, I laughed. She dressed up like a dead woman, pretending to be the ghost, and told the people who go on Spooky Spaghetti, hey, you've pleased me and everything. Stop like messing with those girls and everything. You have made me happy. You have done my bidding. And now it's time to leave them alone. Does she really think a bunch of teenagers and adults are really that stupid to pretend and believe that she is a ghost and they have made her happy so they will leave them girls alone? How high were the writers when they wrote that? Then you have the mob of people trying to, what was it? They were trying to avenge, I think Archie or something like that, or they were trying to avenge one of the killers, like Bloody Rose, and so they created a mob of followers. That sounds like the Joker movie to me. When Joker was a bad person and killing people, he created a mob of followers that wanted to be just like him and stuff. Roberto's not original. He's just not. He's stupid. And I feel bad saying that. But he is a terrible showrunner and stuff. Like, he is just terrible at what he does. And I hate seeing these stars defend this man. Because, because they're defending him now for the Pretty Little Liars show. Because, what are you doing? You don't see all these Riverdale people defending him. You don't see the people of Kathy Kane defending him. You don't see the people of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina defending him because they know what their show was about. It was not very good. There was a show on Fox called Scream Queens. The first season was amazing and the second one was stupid. The show is satire. It knows it's a spoof. This man writes this show as though it's a spoof, but it's not satire. I don't get it. And Hollywood is really starting to catch up on this man and stuff. Like, there's another show that's supposed to come out on HBO Max. It's called Shelley Society. And Roberto's supposed to create it. That was back in 2019. There's been no buzz on that show. Nobody's been cast on that show. They haven't reported nobody's written anything for the show. Nothing's been filmed. They are realizing at HBO Max that, hey, this guy sucks. The CW realized it. Netflix realized it. And now HBO Max have realized it and stuff. And I've seen people say things like, well, the writers and the actors strike is what caused this season to be terrible. No, I've already made a video on that. The strikes were over by the time they was filming the show for the second season. The show was already written before the strikes. The actor strike did cause a hiatus in the second season, but once the strike was over, they was able to film the rest of it. So they could have made whatever changes they wanted to in the script, but they didn't. Because Roberto thought it was gold and everything. So gold that the man said if he got a third season, he was going to have a musical episode. And the reason being, because I already told you that. The reason being, because he said, Pretty Little Liars have never done a musical. So I think we should do a musical. Why? When he said that crap, all the original Pretty Little Liar fans and even his Pretty Little Liar fans said, nope. Nope, we do not want to see that. They were begging for Marlene King to come back. And if they're begging for her to come back, they are desperate. So it is high time for this man to go to that of like showrunner jail, showrunner jail, writer's jail, Hollywood jail, whatever you want to call it. Because this man needs to stop, sit down, reflect on what he has done and realize, hey, my vision, my style, the choices I make on the writing, they're not clicking with people. And I'm ruining people's careers and stuff. Because now this cast has got to go back on auditions. And besides Bailey Madison, nobody really knew the rest of the cast. They've barely been in some stuff. They've been in a couple of TV shows and a couple of movies, but this show made them a household name. Now they are laughing stocks, just like Riverdale. People make fun of the cast of Riverdale to where they wanted to leave the show so bad. They don't want to be laughed at because it's going to hurt their careers on getting cast and stuff in the future. So it is time for somebody to throw the book at this man in Hollywood and lock that cell and just leave him in Hollywood jail to come up with something original and good. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.